everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name's Rachel and this is Stitched Up. So today's video is going to be a review of this little number, which is Simplicity 1318. Now I will put a little picture of the pattern just up here that will obviously cover this gorgeous kimono, but yeah, I thought that I would do a review of this pattern for you. This was one of my makes for September and it's a selfless make because I've made it for my gorgeous daughter who asked me to make it for her because she's going on holiday in October, and she bought this fabric, which is a beautiful crepe fabric from Walton's in Goldthorpe in South Yorkshire, which is not too far from where we live, and yeah, asked me to make her a kimono. So we settled on Simplicity 1318 because this is a pattern that I've had in my stash for a while, and I have made a version of this for myself previously as well. So as my daughter is about 3 to 4 inches shorter than me, I did have to alter the pattern slightly because obviously I'd lengthened it to suit me, yeah, this one I needed to remove that extra length to be able to make this the right length for her. The pattern I made was View B. Now on this pattern you've got 4 versions of kimono that you can make. You can either make a level hemmed short version, which is sort of waist length, which is View A. View B and C are actually the same pattern design, but it allows you to alter the pattern pieces if you want to make the kimono out of fabric that has a border print to it. So it's got pattern markings on each of the pattern pieces to enable you to rotate the pattern pieces so that you can make best use of a border print, which I think is really good. And the last version, View D, is a longer length kimono just with a band all the way round. So I decided to make View B out of this non-directional print. Now this crepe fabric, I will include some close up pictures for you to have a closer look at the kimono in more detail, but this fabric is a stalk print fabric. When we were in Walton's, she wanted a bird print fabric, and this was one that they just pulled out, which she immediately fell in love with. So yeah, it's really nice actually, and what's great about it is that it isn't a directional print, which means that I could make the most use of this fabric. We bought, I think, 2.5 meters, and to be honest with you, there's well over a metre left, so well, maybe not quite a metre, maybe about 80 centimetres, something like that. So there's probably enough that I can probably get her a little cami out of the leftovers as well, which is really good. So this pattern itself is designed for silky, lightweight woven fabrics with drapes such as charmeuse, cotton types. I would tend to stick to cotton lawns if you were going to make it out of a cotton. Crepe de chine, double georgette. It also mentions linens, but again, I would think linens might be a little bit heavy for this type of fabric, particularly if you want to get the drape. However, I think the level hemmed version, the sort of waist length version, could probably look okay out of linen because it would be more jacket style. So yeah, and it mentions border printed fabrics as well, but obviously remember, if you are making this out of a border printed fabric, you are going to need a lot more of the fabric to get the pattern matching correct. The same with a directional print as well. So what this consists of is 2 front pieces, 2 back pieces, and I will come to that in a little while. It has a neckband that comes around the front and attaches to a back band at the back, and then these lovely sleeves with a sleeve band round the hem as well. Now if I just turn this around, what you will see here is that it does have a seam down the back. Now I'm actually really cross with myself, and the reason why is because when I made this the first time around, I made a concerted effort to think, I don't understand why there is a seam in the back, why it isn't just one piece. I think especially on a print such as this, it would look much better if it was just one piece on the fold. So what I mentally remembered was that when I made this again, I was actually going to eliminate the seam allowance and cut it on the fold. And what I actually did was I cut this out and I'd already started sewing it before I remembered that. So I'd cut it out on the fold, but I hadn't eliminated the seam allowance. So, which meant that what I needed to do was actually eliminate the seam allowance on the folded edge once I'd sewn it, because otherwise I would have had to have redrafted the facing, well, the neckband actually, because it's not a facing, and that was really, I thought it would be easy to do. If it had been a facing, it would have been easy to do, but because it's a neckband, and obviously the top of the neckband is, I don't even know if you can see that very well, just hang on a second. Let me bring it a little bit closer. Yeah, so the top of the neckband here, this bit here, is obviously a shorter length than this bit here, and I just didn't have the skills to be able to redraft it. So it ended up where what I did, if I just turn this inside out, you'll be able to see. Because this was already on the fold and I wanted to French seam the entire garment inside so that it would be really nice and neat, I just eliminated the seam allowance on the fold by just sewing 5/8 of an inch the two sides of the back together, which has created essentially a faux French seam. And that's sort of worked really well, but I must remember next time I make this, because I would like to make myself another one, to make sure that I do take out that seam allowance on the back so that I can cut it on the fold and just make it in one piece. The neckband obviously is made up of two sides. You've got the facing side, which is on the inside, and then the outer neckband, which is interfaced, and that's the same for the back neckband as well, and that runs all the way around the hem. And then the bottom of the kimono is finished with a narrow hem, and it's obviously scooped around the back, so it's a bit lower at the back. What else can I tell you about it? Fit wise, this pattern comes in sizes XXX to XXL. I did the size medium, which equates to a sort of a UK size 14. That fits me really well. My daughter has worn the version that I made for myself previously, so I knew that this size would be perfect for her. I just obviously needed to shorten it, and yeah, I'm really pleased with how it's come out. Now, there is a mistake on one of the pattern pieces, and I will just insert a little picture here. It is the back neckband piece. It doesn't actually tell you how many of these to cut out, and yeah, it was only after I'd cut everything out that I realised that it didn't, you know, when I was actually constructing it and putting this kimono together, that I realised it didn't actually say how many pieces you need. So that is an error on the pattern piece, but obviously you do need to cut two pieces. These front pieces of the neckband you need 4 pieces of those, and it does actually say on that pattern piece, so I'm not sure whether that was just a printing error on my particular pattern or what, but you know, it was one of those things that had me scratching my head for ages. I was looking at this pattern piece thinking, why doesn't it say? And if I was just missing it, but yeah, so that's just something to bear in mind. What else can I tell you? There is an awful lot of hand stitching with this kimono. So what you think is actually a straightforward, easy sew, and this garment is actually, this pattern is actually written as it's easy to sew, and I would agree with that. However, there is a lot of hand stitching to do. All of the facing pieces around the neckband is all hand stitched inside, and the same with the sleeve bands around the sleeve as well. They're all hand stitched inside, and that is really time consuming. I would say all in all, with all the hand stitching that I did, it probably took me about 4 hours to do. I think that especially on a busy print like this, you could actually top stitch the neck bands and even the sleeve bands as well, and I think that would probably you know, look just as good, especially if you're really hot at top stitching. I also think what would look nice is if you could do some piping as well on the seam round here, and on the sleeve hem bands as well. I think that would look really cool as well. So there's lots of options for customizing it as to how you want to do it. Sizing wise, I would say it is true to size, to be honest. Obviously there's not a lot of fitting in a garment like this. It's very loose, it's designed to be loose, and so that means that it's, you know, from a beginner perspective, I think this would be a great one to have a go at, because it teaches you all sorts of new techniques, such as applying a back band to a curved area on the back as well, which takes a little bit of fiddling to get it into place, but it does work. Yeah, so I think, you know, from the point of view that there's no fastenings on it, there's very little fitting to do, you just need to know your basic size really. I think it's a really good garment for you to have a go at that can really boost your confidence with sewing wovens basically, and especially drapey fabrics. If you're not used to sewing drapey fabrics, I think this would be a great one to have a go at, especially those sort of satiny type fabrics which tend to be really slippy. I think something like this where there's little fitting involved, no closures or fastenings to be bothered about, then it's going to be fairly straightforward for you to get used to handling those drapey fabrics and knowing how they behave. In the instructions as well, they were fairly straightforward, I will say. I mean, obviously I'm generally quite used to using commercial patterns now, and I know a lot of people are quite scared of them because of the level of detail that indies go to nowadays. I think people tend to be a little bit afraid of commercial patterns, but I'll be honest with you, this one I found fairly straightforward. There was nothing confusing at all, apart from just adding the neck band at the back. I don't think it was totally clear that you need to, when you were attaching the back neckband to the actual garment, it's the wider part. Normally, obviously if it was a facing, you would be applying the shortest bit at the top to the actual neck line of the back garment. Does that make sense? And it takes a bit of getting your head around that actually that's not what you're doing with this, because you are creating a neckband which is going to stand up. So it's actually the longer edge of the back neckband piece that you are attaching to the neckband of the back of the kimono. So it does tell you in the instructions to make sure that you stay stitch the neckline of the back section of the kimono first before you start, and I would absolutely 100% urge you to make sure that you do that, because you will have to snip into that into the seam allowance up to that stitching line of stay stitching, so that you can actually bend that curve to make it fit the bottom edge of this neckband. So all in all, yeah, I could put this on and show you what it looks like, but my daughter is going to probably get this in October when she next comes up to stay before she goes on holiday, but I'm really pleased with how it's come out. The version I made was probably about 3.5 years ago now, and I've not made one since. And yeah, it's great to have made one again. I think next time, I would like to make myself another one, but I think next time I'll probably top stitch the neck bands and the sleeve hems, because it's just so time consuming doing all that hand stitching, and I just think sometimes you get a better finish. But that's just me. If you love hand stitching, then it's great to obviously sit and chill out while you just do all those finishing off bits as well. As I mentioned, I have French seamed the entire inside of the garment, and what I will do is I will put in some footage of close-ups of the kimono both inside and out, so that you can see it in a little bit more detail. for my review of this pattern, Simplicity 1318. If you've got any questions, please leave them for me below and let me know what you think. I know it's quite late in the season now for this kind of thing, but you know, you can always refer back to this next spring if you fancy making this for a summer holiday next year, or if you want to, you know, if you're going away having a lovely winter holiday somewhere sunny and hot, then you might like to have a go yourself. So yeah, all in all, it's a really good pattern and I would definitely recommend it. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please give me a thumbs up and I will hopefully speak to you all really soon. Take care, bye!